Hey there, comic lovers. Welcome back to the show. So, as you can see, still no Thor. Problem is, the old man's been getting better, but it's still cold outside.
Yeah, it's real cold. It's winter time.
Yeah, and it's been snowing on and off this week. So,
snow doesn't matter, except for the fact that when it snows, you know it's cold.
So what I'm thinking about doing next week is, I'll head on over to my sister's place and maybe do a doggy challenge video with Thor that we'll do at the end of the episode. So that way still Thor is part of the show. So if I can work that into the schedule, then look forward to that. All right, so we have a little bit of comic book news this week. We have that. We have comic reviews, comic previews. And I have a special themed movie-ism in honor of a certain horror movie that came out just last week. All right, all that and more coming up. So, something we learned this week, sometimes you just can't help but upset a Wookiee. This is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers, so before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think, or you can give us some recommendations.
Need more comments.
Yeah.
You're lazy.
Yeah, bring them in. All right, so a few things going on in comic book news this week. One is we got our first look at the new Batgirl film, and the new Batgirl herself, played by Leslie Grace. Now, Leslie Grace is a relative unknown. The only thing that I saw on her profile that I might have seen, I haven't, was In the Heights. And, we passed on that one. It takes a lot from a musical to get us to go see it. We just got finished watching Tick, Tick, Boom with Andrew Garfield, and that was really good.
Yeah.
But, we got it because we thought that it might end up on the Oscar ballot this year, so we wanted to get a head start on knocking out the ballot, so we went and saw Tick, Tick, Boom.
I don't avoid musicals. I like musicals.
Well, you hadn't seen In the Heights or West Side Story, so...
I haven't seen West Side Story because your mother wants to see it with me, and the schedule hasn't worked out.
Okay. All right, so Leslie Grace, In the Heights, now is the new Batgirl. Now, I've heard that there's been a little bit of backlash online with people criticizing the way the costume looks. Now, I'm looking at this picture here, and the costume looks damn near perfect to me. I don't know what the hell people are talking about.
To me.
If you've seen any recent comics in the last 10 years of Barbara Gordon, not any of the other Batgirls, of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, this is about what she looks like. So, I don't know what the hell people are getting all upset about. All right, so you have Leslie Grace in the role of Batgirl, and we have, pretty cool cast for this movie. And I don't know what they're planning on doing with the multiverse and all that stuff. Is this the DCEU? Is this another DC universe? I don't know. But, take a look at this cast here.
There should only be one.
The old man has problems with the multiverse. As we just saw in No Way Home, the multiverse is where cool shit happens. Come on.
I agree that it was a very good movie. I already said that. And it was cool to see all the other guys come back as Spider-Man and the villains come back. Yes, that was cool. But when it comes to the multiverse in comics and comic-based stories, it's a writer's crutch. Because if you write yourself into a hole and you kill somebody that you didn't want to kill, you bring them back. They're from another universe.
Well, in the movies, that's called a reboot.
It's garbage.
All right, and I like the multiverse. Okay, that's just me. So, whatever dimension the movie takes place in, here's some of your cast for this movie. You have J.K. Simmons returning as Commissioner Gordon. Then you have our long lost friend Brendan Fraser as Garfield Lenz, aka Firefly. Now,
I don't really care that much about Firefly to begin with.
He's
it's good to see, your boy getting work.
He's a C-list villain. No disrespect to Brendan Fraser. I've heard that after he I forgot he got publicity for something. I forgot what it was. But after that, he ended up getting cast in a part with a Martin Scorsese film. So next Scorsese, we're going to see Brendan Fraser.
Good for him.
So, Brendan, he's been out of the spotlight a lot. I heard stories online. It was a lot of it was the result of a really nasty divorce he had with his wife back in the day. Yeah, and we miss we miss our Rick O'Connell, guys. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the spotlight.
I don't have a complaint about his role and even a couple of the bad movies he was in.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does a fine job.
Yeah. All right. So, and you may remember he's already played a DC character in Doom Patrol. Now, it was the role, the character itself was big, but Brendan Fraser didn't have to do all that much because it was a guy in a suit.
Voiceover, right?
Yeah. It was voiceover and flashbacks were what Brendan Fraser had to do. All right. So then, now this is why I'm questioning what dimension or Earth it's on, because you have Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman on the cast list here.
Hey, if Marvel did it and made a lot of money, they might as well do it.
Well, I mean, I would argue that the two companies kind of did it around the same time, because you had Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW, and then the Marvel did it with Far From Home, and also with Loki.
Riddle me this.
Mm-hmm.
They did Crisis on Infinite Earths, where supposedly it cleaned everything up, just like in a comic book, brought it all together to one Earth. What went wrong?
Writers got bored. I don't know.
See? Writers.
All right. So, and then you have this other guy, Jacob Scipio. That's the name of the actor, and they have not named his character yet. So that's the cast list for the new Batgirl movie. Looking forward to it, and I'm digging the costume. I don't care what anybody else says. All right, so there's Batgirl. Also, the old man and I, we just watched the new trailer for Moon Knight. And now, the old man, he went rogue on me. Usually, I screen the trailers ahead of time, and then I let him know it's okay, there were no major spoilers in the trailer.
Well, see, I already knew there were no spoilers in it.
What made you so sure?
What are they going to put in it to spoil?
I don't know. I mean, they could introduce...
There's really nothing related to Moon Knight that they could have put in there to get goofy.
Maybe, he crossed paths with some other established character in the MCU.
No, and usually they don't screw things up in the first trailer. They wait till the second or third one.
I thought this was the second trailer. But anyways, so we saw the trailer, and, they're really going to lean into Moon Knight's dissociative identity disorder. And
they're going to embrace his cuckoo-ness.
Yeah, and I know the proper phrasing because I learned that in college. I went to college. All right, dissociative identity disorder, that's what it's called.
He graduated.
Yeah, right? Like, look at me. All right, so, and, all these different personalities that Moon Knight has. One thing I mentioned when we watched it that surprised me is I didn't, in the trailer, it looks like he actually, morphs into his costume, which I didn't think he did that.
Yeah, I mean, I had to watch it a second time because I missed it. It's like, what?
Yeah. So,
as far as I know, it's just a costume.
Mm-hmm. So, I've read a little bit of Moon Knight, not a whole lot. How is his rogues gallery? Is it anything impressive? No? Nothing? Because it looks like he's fighting, demons or phantoms in the trailer.
A lot of that kind of stuff.
And I'm pretty... The bad guy, is it Kevin Bacon? Look like Kevin Bacon.
I think it's Ethan Allen.
You know what? I'm going to cut for a second, and I'm going to look it up real quick. Okay, Ethan Hawke. That's the guy. Yeah, not... I don't know who Ethan Allen was.
I think he made furniture or something.
Yeah. Okay, so not Ethan Allen, not Kevin Bacon. Ethan Hawke looks like he's going to be the main antagonist in the movie. All right, so there is our DC and Marvel news in the way of movies and TV shows. Now, what do you say we get into our comics scoring here?
Well, set it up.
All right, so if you've never watched us do this before, we grade these comics on a 5-shield rating system. We each give it 2 scores. One for writing and story, the other one for artwork. and then we combine the 4 scores together and give it an average overall score. So we have our mentions to start off this week. Now, as I'm about to demonstrate, we don't call them honorable mentions because sometimes we have something negative to say about them.
Sometimes they're honorary mentions.
Yeah. So, what's first up?
All right, first up, from DC Comics, Robin and Batman, number 3 of 3.
All right, so if you've been watching the channel, we've talked about this mini-series from the first issue, and we're not big fans of the artwork, and that also remains true. Story-wise, is not horrible.
It's decent.
It's about the origins of Robin, which has been told several times. So Robin and Batman have gone out and confronted Killer Croc, and they managed to get out, and they wake up the next day, and Robin doesn't want to go to school. It's like we're on Croc's trail. I mean, we gotta get him, and Bruce almost lets him off of school while they hunt Croc down.
Bruce was going to let him off, and Alfred said no.
Yeah,
no,
Alfred's
no.
like, no, he's going to school. He's going to have something like resembling a normal life, and he is going to go to school. So, Alfred laid the hammer down, and Bruce like,
said, guess you're going to school.
All right, go to school. All right, so apparently, anyone who's read comics in recent years, Croc's not the idiot that some people might make him out to be.
Well, he was originally.
Maybe.
He was feral.
Yeah, but he's not so much these days. And even in this story, which is is it a black label? Doesn't say it's a black label, but it's a self-contained story. So Croc has deduced who Robin is because he recognized him during his days at the circus. Apparently, Robin, or Dick Grayson, and Croc were in the circus at the same time. Croc was one of the sideshows, obviously, and Grayson, of course, was one of the
alligator man.
Right, and Grayson obviously was one of the flying Graysons. So somehow Croc has decided to put all of this, anger and frustration about the lot he was dealt in life onto Grayson. He's going to blame him for everything.
Well, he's living this high and mighty, hoity-toity life. And
Croc watched
Croc's
him
on the run all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Croc watched him in the circus, and he got all the love and affection from his family and other people in the circus. And Croc was just sitting there, in his tank all the time. So he blames him somehow. So he breaks into a school, attacks the principal, and sends a warning out on the PA system saying, you need to get to the office right now and, face me, or, people are going to start getting hurt. Now, little things that I notice and appreciate about writing is like, courage from unexpected places. And in the scene where he's in the principal's office and he's holding the principal hostage, waiting for Robin to get there, the principal, I don't want to say stands up to him, but with all the courage he can muster says, please don't hurt the children. And, him having the integrity to try to protect the kids. I mean, I appreciate those things. So, anyways.
I would have been like, eat the kids. Just let me go.
No. Anyways. All right, so.
Eat some of the kids. Not all of them. Just the bad ones.
Nah, I don't want to think about that. All right, so Robin confronts him, and apparently Batman was staying close by because he busts into the window right after, and but sadly Batman is not 100% given their last encounter with Croc. So he ends up getting captured by Croc, and Croc tells Robin to meet him at the outskirts of the circus where the circus was if you ever want to see him again. And the story goes from there. So the story concludes, and like we said, I mean, the story is not horrible. It's the artwork that gives it a lower score.
We've said before, we don't really like painted artwork. But this is, I don't know. I'd have to say it's very simplistic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it. It's like you didn't fully color in whatever it is you were drawing.
The colorist got a day off.
Yeah, and it's like it's blank in some places.
Well, any rate.
Yeah. Okay. So we've lingered on this one enough.
We gave it 3 shields after rounding up.
3 shields after robbing Robin and Batman number 3 of 3.
All right. Next up on the mentions is a book from AWA, and it's the 5th of a 5-part series, at least. At the end of the last page, it says end of volume 1.
Right.
So I'm assuming the story is going to continue. I hope it continues because we've enjoyed this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's Not All Robots, number 5.
All right. So I want to mention the artwork is by a guy named Mike Deodato Jr. And that's going to become important in a little bit here. So we enjoyed...
It's important now, but we're going to talk about it more later.
We enjoyed Deodato's artwork for another AWA title, Redemption. And now he has moved on to 5 issues of Not All Robots. All right, so in the story, what happened previously was the robots and humans have reached a boiling point in their, inevitable war with each other, I guess you would say. So the mother of this family that we have been following has destroyed, murdered, whatever you want to call it, their house robot. Snowball is what he was called. So apparently...
Well, she did it because she got the feeling he was going to murder them.
Right. So apparently there is some kind of crime against destroying a robot. I mean, in other movies and stories and TV shows, I mean, the robot is your property. You can do whatever you want with it. But apparently that's not how it works here.
Not so here.
Yeah. So she killed the robot, and there aren't courtrooms in this world anymore. There aren't courtrooms with not judges or lawyers, no trials. Well, I mean, I guess there's a simulated trial. Basically,
more like a sentencing.
They enter the data from the case into a computer, and this AI spits out a verdict in like under 5 seconds. So she gives this whole speech about the humans becoming obsolete, and they're not obsolete, and you did what you did, and I did what I had to do, and
good speech.
Yeah, and the AI is like, I rendered a verdict like 3.2 seconds into your little speech. So that's that, and her sentence is that she is exiled, banished from the city bubble. If you've ever seen the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie, when he's found guilty of killing some people, and Stallone is sentenced out into the wastelands. So basically the same thing here. So once she's sent out, her kids decide that they're going to go after her. And
screw you, Dad, we're leaving.
Yeah, the dad, being the spineless worm that he is, decides like, I'm the man of this house, and you're gonna do it. Oh, you're gone already. And so he gets left behind, and good riddance. And the story leads with the kids finding their way through the wastelands to find their mother. Right. Now, the end of the story, I mean, it says end of volume 1. So I was expecting there to be a little bit more of a finale. I mean, it's sort of like the finale to a TV season.
Well, if they start next month with issue 6 and the beginning of volume 2, I'm fine with it because this was just it's an issue that sets up the rest of the story. Mm-hmm. So I'll be fine with it. But if we have to wait 6 months to get the next issue, and that sucks.
Yeah, I was expecting like some big fight or something going on in this issue, but it was kind of anticlimactic. So, they gave us the setup, but that was about it. All right, so Not All Robots number 5, artwork by Mike Deodato Jr. ends up with
after rounding 4 shields.
4 shields out of 5. All right, so the reason I wanted to make sure you knew that Deodato was doing the artwork on this is because our next mention, also by Mike Deodato Jr.
Now, this one is the first of a 4-issue miniseries, and like a lot of first issues, you're not really sure where you're at. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's even hard to explain what the plot line is.
Right.
Because it hasn't really developed yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the artwork's good.
Yep. All right. So the reason I wanted to make sure you knew who the artist was we mentioned in the first series that we noticed Diodato in was Redemption, and we kept mentioning how the Butcher, one of the main characters in the story, looked an awful lot like Linda Hamilton
From the second Terminator movie.
Right. I mean,
where she's become grittier.
Yeah. Or maybe the latest
Leaner?
one, Terminator Dark Fate, maybe a little bit more like that because she's supposed to be older in that story. So it was a striking resemblance to her, and if they ever do a mini-series of Redemption, then obviously you have to get Linda Hamilton to play.
I'd be disappointed if they don't get Linda Hamilton.
So, reading The Fourth Man made me realize that I guess Diodato has a habit or a plan to draw his characters with a likeness to a certain actor or actress. Because in this story, the main character, I believe his name is James, something like that, James Wells.
I'm not even sure if he's the main character yet.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to be the main character for future issues.
Unless the first future issues are all flashbacks.
But this one, I believe he was the main guy. So, and I'm going to pull up a page here in a second. Yeah. All right. So, looking at these pictures here, I don't know how well you can see it on the screen. Like, does that remind you of anybody? Because to me, he looks an awful lot like Paul Giamatti. And you know what? If this was a TV show, this is exactly the sort of role that Paul would excel at.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, I think Giamatti can play any character he wants to.
Pretty much. So, to give you a little bit of what the story is, we get follow two officers who are examining a body in the morgue who was murdered. And then, after we see him on the table, we get a flashback to see, how he ended up that way. And James Wells is a private investigator, and he is hired to follow this guy around and keep tabs on him. Well, I guess James isn't too good at his job because he gets made pretty quickly. And the guy pulls him out of his car and he roughs him up a little bit. And, he says, something like, if I catch you following me again, you're a dead man. So the story goes to that. And also James has a bit of a gambling problem.
Bit?
Yeah, just a little bit. And another funny thing, another likeness that you might notice if you read the issue, I guess you would call it a cameo appearance because it's only the one picture here. He gets distracted while he's at a dog race, and he looks to somebody in the stand and says, "Wait, who won the race?" And this guy says, the dog's name, and the picture here looks exactly like Morgan Freeman.
There's also a panel earlier in the book where the character in that panel looks like a young James Caan.
So, I mean, he can pull from any era in Hollywood, I guess, because it's, so, I don't know if he cops up to it and says, like, yeah, that's Paul Giamatti, or he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. It could be anybody.
Right. So, and I don't know if there's any legal precedence about that, about drawing a actor's likeness without their permission into your comics.
Yeah, I think he's got enough wiggle room. He didn't have to worry about it.
Okay. Well, whether he would cop to it or not, I see you, Diodato. I see what you're doing.
Keep it up.
Yeah. All right. So, The Fourth Man, #1 in a 4-issue miniseries, ends up with
3.5 shields.
3.5 shields out of 5.
All right, and last of our mentions is another AWA book. You must like AWA a lot. AWA.
Yep, man, they got some new stuff.
At any rate, this is the third of a 5-issue series, and it's called Knighted.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you may remember us mentioning this comic before. It's basically a superhero version of the Santa Claus.
With Tim Allen.
Yeah. Basically what happened is this guy, average guy...
accidentally causes the big superhero to die, to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And
he puts on the suit, and he becomes the new guy, just like the Santa Claus.
Exactly.
All right, so in this story, you got this guy who is kind of the brains behind the operation.
Call him the elves.
The elves, or think of it as Alfred and Lucius Fox rolled into one.
Yep.
It's basically what this guy is, and he's the brains behind the operation. And the first night was just a schmuck in a suit, pretty much.
He was terrible.
Yeah. So he gets this new guy recruited, and the guy is he's a police analyst, so he knows
He's a desk jockey.
he knows something about crime fighting a little bit. And he says he'll sign on to this mission after he kind of like inadvertently got into a mission in the previous issue. So one thing I thought was really funny in this opening scene here is the Alfred guy hands him a minimized night suit, and he says it fits into your pocket. Think of it like the Flash's ring.
It's a disc. It's bigger than a $50, smaller than a hockey puck. It fits in your hand.
Right. So he hands him this little tiny disc that the suit's supposed to be in, and then he says, if this is the whole thing, why do you need this big display? And he's pointing to this like glass case he has at the headquarters, like picture what Batman has in the Batcave and a lot of stuff.
Batman and Robin in various suits standing there like they're somebody in them.
And I love the guy's answer. He looks at him and says, "Duh, because that shit looks cool." So he gives them a very abbreviated rundown of what they're going to be doing on the mission, and the guy says, "That's it? How am I supposed to know what to do? I mean, don't I even get a sidekick?" And the guy gets mad at him and he says, "Fool, I'm your mother effing sidekick." And then later on, when he's in the suit and he's carrying out the mission, and the guy is barely what's the word? Competent. Yeah, had a brain fart there. He's barely competent, and the guy says on the radio, he says, "All right, you know what? I take it back. You're my sidekick, all right?" So then we see what happens when the suit fails, and just what this guy is made of.
It ain't good.
Yeah. All right, so night at number 3. I mean, I'm going to keep reading it for no other reason than the cool lines this guy comes up with. So number 3 of 5 ends up with...
after rounding it up, it gets 4 shields.
4 shields out of 5. All right, so there's our mentions for this week, or last week, I guess I should say. Now let's move on to our top 3.
All right, if you watch the channel much, you'll know that we tend to have some ties. And we come up with all these different ways to decide who's going to put the books in order. Well, after last week's disastrous contest of Mumbly Peg that I didn't win, I decided I wasn't going to do anything physically dangerous. So went into the closet, rooted around, pulled out an old board game called Trivial Pursuit.
Okay.
Forgot the name of it. Any rate, first off, it took way longer for us to finish the game than I thought it would, because that stuff's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And we also discovered that the old man doesn't know a whole lot about geography. I mean, if they'd asked me what's the capital of Kentucky, I got that. If they'd asked me what's the name of the river that goes right north of Louisville, I got that. But what's the main street running through Timbuktu? I don't know. I don't know where Timbuktu is. So, at any rate, EMoney won. So, if you don't like the order of these next 3 books, all right, you ready?
All right, let's go.
Number 3, and all of these got 4 shields. No rounding, just a flat-out 4 shields. Number 1 for Image Comics is Hellcop, number 3.
All right. So our hero, the Hellcop, finds himself in another dimension. It's a hell-like dimension. And side note, artwork on the cover by Seth MacFarlane. All right, so...
By who?
It's Seth MacFarlane. Right there.
Todd McFarlane?
Did I say Seth?
You did.
Oh, okay. Todd McFarlane. Sorry.
The guy who actually draws comic books.
Right. All right. Todd McFarlane. All right. So then he is trying to find his way back to Earth and find a portal or way, where the energy is right for him to open up a portal to get to Earth. So on the other end, his friend in the IT department is trying to get the portal open, and the brass, the higher ups, decide that she needs some extra help. So they bring in this other tech guy, and he's kind of a pompous ass. And she asks, what area are you from exactly? And he says, that's classified. I mean, I have a pretty high clearance. And he says, not that high, honey. And like sexist douche. Don't call women honey unless you're married to them, okay?
I was gonna say, I call your mom honey.
Yeah, but not someone you just met. Don't be a douche. All right. Anyways, so he's traveling with a couple of, I guess you would call them demons or other creatures in this dimension, and he needs their help for now. But towards the end of their journey, they end up doing what he fully expected them to do.
They're demons. Come on.
So that happens, and then he finds some new revelation, which is the big cliffhanger of this issue, as to the history of the Hellcops. All right, so good storytelling, excellent artwork. Hellcop number 3 ends up with 4 shields out of 5, our number 3 pick for this week.
All right.
Next up.
And per EMoney, number 2 this week is a comic that we've been enjoying pretty much since the get-go, and that is from DC Comics, The Joker number 11.
All right. So, in this issue, we get a little backstory as to what's going to be happening coming up. Like several years ago, this kind of a redneck crime family in Texas is approached by this rich crime guy, and he strikes a deal with them. And they can continue doing, all of the redneck shady things that they do. And in return, they'll make sure that they don't get hassled by law enforcement. And in return, the crime boss gets to use their resources.
Well, to be totally fair about it, they have to give up one of their own.
Oh, yeah, that too. I almost forgot about that. Someone has to take the fall for the crimes they've already committed. So there's that.
So Bubba got to go to jail.
Mm-hmm. So then we get back to Gordon. And Gordon, he took a pretty bad beating over in Europe, I think. And somehow they, his allies managed to get him back home to Gotham. And Barbara is taking care of him. So Barbara says she's going to take care of this whole business with the Joker. And finds out that he's in Texas. And she says that I have one of my girls on you, so don't be getting any ideas about running out.
Yeah, you're going to stay in bed.
Yeah. So the girl she has watching him is Cassandra Cain. Gordon doesn't know that, but we know that. And Gordon kind of makes an assumption, and he figures that Barbara's girl is not going to physically attack him if he tries to leave, and he has a window of opportunity from when Cassandra radios in what he's doing to Barbara and when she makes a move after Barbara gets back to her. I mean,
as soon as she realizes he's on the move, then she's got to contact Barbara for Barbara to tell her what you can and can't do to keep the commissioner from doing bad things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, trank dart, taser, something, whatever you got to do.
You're not going to taser Gordon. You're not going to do that.
I don't know. I mean, I felt a little disappointed in Cassandra for not acting faster. So anyways, Gordon's
pretty smart. He's kind of sneaky.
Yep. Gordon contacts his old buddy Bullock and says he needs his help to get to Texas where he suspects Joker is going to be. So it's all building up to this big climax meetup with all of the people involved in the story so far. So the Joker, number 11, our number 2 pick for this week, 4 shields out of 5. All right.
Our number 1 spot. Now, before I introduce you to this book, please know that EMoney and I have not read a lot of the Spawn comics. We didn't read Spawn. We didn't read, was it King Spawn? We did read Gunslinger Spawn because, I don't know, we picked up the first issue and thoroughly enjoyed it, and we picked up the next couple. And I saw Gunslinger Spawn was in this book, so it was an automatic. I had to get it. And it's called Scorched #1. Now, McFarlane usually puts out the cheapest comic on the market to be a pretty much big press book because his normal Spawn comics are only $2.99. Most books are $4.99. So the fact that this is a $5.99 book, you know it's got to have a few pages, which it does.
All right, so Scorched #1. All right, so in this issue, we get the Spawns are starting to team together, and which is unusual because Spawns usually travel alone. They work alone. And we find out that there's a rogue Spawn on the loose called Plague Spawn. And Plague Spawn is supposedly the original Spawn, the blueprint of what other future Spawns were supposed to be. Before Spawn. So, you have she Spawn, you have medieval Spawn, you have Gunslinger Spawn, and then you also have Redeemer. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Spawn characters. I don't know what Redeemer is exactly. Is he a rogue angel? Is he some kind of special hell Spawn? I don't know.
Somebody there knows, so why don't you just tell us in the comments?
Yeah, let us know. So, in the issue, they touch on, I would think Gunslinger Spawn gets the best part in this story.
Well, we just think he's the most interesting anyway.
Yeah, they always make a point of telling us how he's so much weaker than the other Spawns. Even when he's cornered by these guys in a crypt, he says, one of them says, "Everyone knows how weak a Spawn you are, Gunslinger," and then a few pages later, Spawn makes him eat those words.
Well, he carries big guns.
All right, so later in the story, they get a location on Plague Spawn, and they find this country where, in the city, these people are being oppressed, and most of the people in the group, they want to help them, but that's not their main objective. Their main objective is to get Plague Spawn, so helping these people is just kind of a side effect of being here. All right, so then when they find out that they've teamed up together, they learn that the enemies, the powers are moving against them to take care of the problem. So that's kind of where we leave it at the end of issue 1. So, I'm invested. I'm ready for issue #2. So the Scorched issue #1 comes in our #1 spot for this week with 4 shields out of 5. All right, so let's turn it over in a second and let's get into this week's previews. All right, so what do we have coming out this week?
All right, pretty big week even for us.
Okay.
You've got from DC, everything we're getting from DC this week, 4 Bat books. Batman vs. Bigby, Detective, Robbins, and a new book called Batman the Knight.
Okay.
We're getting 4 or 5 independent books, one of which is out #4, the World War II supernatural thing, which is really good.
So, quick question: that new Batman series you mentioned, is that a Black Label?
I think so, but I won't swear to it.
Okay, I mean these Black Label Batman miniseries, they've been kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
So
with us, it kind of depends on the artwork.
Yep.
But we're looking at 11 Marvel books.
11 Marvel.
Normally we get more DC books than we do Marvel, but for it to be 4 to 11, it's a crazy week for Marvel. There's a couple of Devil's Reign books. There's a She-Hulk #1.
Sometimes when they get onto these side stories of this, overreaching story arc, like when they did World War Hulk, for example, or Civil War, another one. I like the main story, and the other, like the side stories. I don't know.
Right now you've got the death of Doctor Strange. I'm just picking up the main book.
Right.
I'm not getting all the other, different sub books. But with Devil's Reign, I've liked it so much that I am picking up the sub books. You have Silk #1, Silver Surfer Rebirth, which is a mini-series #1.
Silk's another mini-series?
Silk, I don't think so.
No, okay. Ongoing, all right.
And another #1 is The X Lives of Wolverine. I have no idea what that's about other than Wolverine.
Okay. Did you mention the Independents? Are there Independents this week?
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 5. You've got, I mentioned Out, Shadow Man, a new book called Aerosmith Behind Enemy Lines that looks pretty promising.
Shadow Man is the one I liked, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's previews coming up for this week. Get them at your local comic book shop today. All right. Let's turn it over and head into this week's Movie-ism. All right. So for this week's Movie-ism, I thought I would do a themed one because a certain horror movie came out just last week. Scream. Well, I mean, it's just called Scream, but actually it's Scream 5. So in honor of that, we haven't seen it yet. We're a little behind. I thought I would do a themed one, and this one I like to call the Drew Barrymore. This is one where the character in the movie, sometimes played by a big name actor or actress like Drew Barrymore, who gets killed or dies in the opening scene. Well,
if it's a big name character or actor, I have to suspect it's because they want the star appeal, for the character. The people see these actors in it, they're all going to go see it, but they can't afford to pay them for the full movie.
Right. And when Scream first came out, everyone thought Drew Barrymore was the main character in the movie. Yeah.
Of course, who wouldn't?
Yeah. I mean, you look at, I think she had first billing on the poster, and, obviously everyone assumed that. But going back to what you said about, only getting a big name actor for a limited amount of time for your film, that's been pretty common practice for a lot of reasons. I actually worked on a film a couple years ago called River Runs Red. And the biggest name in that movie was probably John Cusack. And John Cusack, he was only on set for about 3 days. They couldn't afford him for any longer. So he came in, and I know he was there for 3 days. I'm not sure if he was on set for all 3 days. But anyways, he came in, and I think he did a grand total of 3 scenes in the whole movie. But in any case, they filmed him for those 3 scenes, and they managed to get him on the poster. And that's how it is with these big name actors. All right, we got his 1 scene or 2 scenes in the movie. Let's put him on the poster. And that's sort of the main draw of doing this practice. And if you looked on the poster for River Runs Red, here it is on the screen. John Cusack, he's on the poster with Taye Diggs and George Lopez, and he's the "and" at the end of the poster, and John Cusack. But anyways, back to the Movie-ism. So as everyone knows, Drew Barrymore gets killed in the opening scene, and this has been a fairly common thing, especially in horror movies. For example, you have Susan Backliny. She was the girl in the opening scene to Jaws who goes out for a midnight swim and ends up being Jaws' first on-screen victim. And, Susan has held on to that title, and, she's, exploited the hell out of it over the last few decades. Jaws' first victim. I mean, that's kind of a cool title to have, I guess. So then, another horror movie, you remember Adrienne King, who played the last girl, the last survivor, in the first Friday the 13th movie. So, fans were kind of excited when they heard she was going to come back for the second film, and then to many people's disappointment, she gets killed in the opening scene. Actually, it was more like a... Yeah. And then you have, in the second Scream movie, you have Omar Epps. Pretty big name guy.
Big name.
So his character goes to the opening screening of the movie Stab, the movie that was based on the real life events that happened in the first Scream movie. So he goes into the bathroom, and during the film, he ends up.
Let me guess. He gets stabbed.
He gets stabbed to death. So there's another one. Now, also, the Scream TV series that came out a couple years ago paid homage to Drew Barrymore in the first episode. You had a character played by Bella Thorne, who was still is, I guess, a pretty big name actress. Mm-hmm. She plays the first girl in this movie. Now, unlike Drew Barrymore's character, from what little we knew about her, she seemed like a nice person. Bella Thorne plays sort of the bitch. She's the bitch, and from what we knew from her backstory, she's the bully / slut in the school. So she ends up getting killed in the opening scene in the Scream TV series. So, now you have an idea of what I mean when I say the Drew Barrymore. I actually made my friend Caleb the Drew Barrymore in one of my college films back in the day.
Did you bump him off right away?
Yeah, the first movie I ever did in college was called It's in the Basement, and I killed my buddy Caleb in the opening scene of the film.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Is that why whenever y'all see each other, he gives you a dirty look?
Nah, there's list of reasons for that. All right, so that takes care of this week's Movie-ism. So what do we have going on in the world of superheroes and movies and comic books and stuff? Well, we're going to have our comics graded next week. We are going to talk about, we have the Book of Boba Fett coming up a little later today. We're going to have our reaction video to episode 4. And, Favreau's caught a little bit of heat from the last episode.
Over the Vespas?
The Vespas. A lot of people don't like the Vespas.
Shut up.
Yeah, a lot of people think he may have jumped the shark on that one. I mean, he couldn't be infallible forever. I mean, I
don't think he made a mistake there.
I mean, this is his 3rd season doing a Star Wars show, so, he was bound to do something fans didn't like eventually. All right, so...
y'all need to check out the Who's album, Quadrophenia. It's about scooter gangs. Just like these guys. Just maybe not Vespas.
All right. So, our reaction video, look for Book of Boba Fett on Disney+. And, we have all of our super cool Marvel shows that are be coming up in the coming months. A lot of cool stuff like Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, all those shows coming out later this year. And, we're going to have our reaction videos to them. All right, so we'll think that wraps everything up. And hopefully I'll bring Thor into the next show and, do a doggy challenge video for next week's episode.
That's good, because I'm not sitting out in that garage in this weather.
And I need to get a haircut. Need to get this cut.
You want me to cut it?
No. What? No. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one. Excelsior.
True believers, stay inside. Keep warm. Because, baby, it's cold outside.